Here's the scene playing out in churches across America right now. A 19-year-old who grew up on youth group and worship bands is kneeling in silence before a tabernacle, breathing incense, watching a priest pray in Latin with his back to the congregation. And if you think this is just an aesthetic trend, a TikTok-fueled obsession with dark academia and cathedral vibes, you're missing something much deeper. Let me introduce you to Jonathan Clark. He's a campus pastor in Colorado, and he's been watching this happen for years. He told By Faith magazine just last month, "I have heard these sentences dozens of times from Gen Z students. I'm looking into the Catholic Church. What do you know about orthodoxy?" His students grew up in evangelical churches with coffee bars, generic art, and highly produced worship songs written after 2015. One student told him, "It's real. What they are doing is the stuff that matters, and the smoke machines at other churches just don't compare." Here's what these young people are telling us. The concert-style worship of the 2010s feels like a simulation. A study from 2023 found that 65% of churches now use exclusively modern worship songs, with only 10% still singing hymns. And when the worship experience relies on smoke machines, lighting cues, and pitch correction software, something gets lost. Professor Adam Perez from Belmont University put it bluntly, "If we're not careful, the church becomes a karaoke shop, and worship teams lose their core purpose." The problem isn't sincerity, it's that the form itself has become exhausting. A generation raised on digital saturation is starving for silence, for something they can't swipe past. Noel Mehring, writing for the Ethics and Public Policy Center in January 2026, captured the deeper shift. Young people aren't just chasing aesthetics, they're fleeing the nihilism of hookup culture and the disintegration of social and moral structures. They want authority, something outside and above the self, demanding yet benevolent, calling him to a life of consequence. One recent convert put it this way, "In non-denominational churches, it felt like the dads there wanted to be young and cool. It feels like the dads in the Catholic community are striving to be men." That's the shift, not a search for vibes, but a search for weight. This is where the data gets fascinating. A major survey in Germany, released just this January, found that while 24% of Catholics plan to leave the church, among young adults aged 18 to 29, 16% of non-members can imagine joining or rejoining. That's double the general population. Among Muslims, 14% expressed openness to Christianity. And here's the kicker. 61% of young adults have searched for religious content online. They're not stumbling into ancient churches by accident. They're seeking. Jeremiah Taylor, a Gen Z convert, writing for the National Catholic Reporter last month, was confirmed in 2020. He's now warning his generation against turning Catholicism into fundamentalism, against using the faith as a weapon against the brokenness of the world, rather than entering into it. But his initial reason for converting is the one you hear over and over: disgust with consumerism, hedonism, and individualism, and the conviction that only a robust metaphysical worldview, only a church with real presence, real sacrifice, real authority can resist them. The OCIA process explains to inquirers what Catholics have always believed. The Eucharist is Jesus truly present in the Eucharist, body, blood, soul, and divinity. It is not just a symbol. This isn't nostalgia, it's rebellion. In a culture of hyper-individualism, submitting to a 2,000-year-old liturgical rhythm is the most countercultural move available. In a world of synthetic connection, kneeling shoulder to shoulder with strangers for a silent, ancient rite is radical. Mehring writes that a purely comfortable life is eventually perceived as a meaningless one. Young people want what their father wants to pass on to them, the richness of the church and the call to steward and pass along this inheritance. They're not retreating from the world, they're building something durable.
and they're finding it in the one place no one expected, the ancient Catholic sacramental life.